Caught GF, F28, lying to me, M25, and need advice. So, a few days ago I caught my GF, spouse, of 5 years lying about having a driver's license. Her excuse was that it had been recalled 4 months ago due to medical stuff, which I won't go into here, but it was fair and reasonable. She went on to explain that she did in fact had a license and only needed to get her medical stuff sorted to get it back from the police. We agreed that she'd go to the hospital and get the paper from the doctor proving her story to me. So I forgave her on the condition that this kind of thing never happened again. However, after I dropped her off at work, I called the authority responsible for giving out driver's link essays to check her story. Turns out she never had a driving license to begin with. She has been lying for 5 years now, and even when confronted, see earlier, she fabricated a story. I have not spoken to her about this as she's at work. I plan to talk to her tomorrow before work as she works the evening shift. I'm just not sure what to do. Have everything been a lie? Up until now this was my dream girl. We've talked about kids, house, marriage. She's helped me through everything, lifted me up from the dark abyss, but I just don't know now. I need advice on how to proceed, please. Now for Topcomnet. Ermid. I'd slow things down. Regardless of why she lied, she's shown she can both lie and fabricate an entire story. It warrants being worried and slowing things down to ensure this is someone you want to stay with. Vilden. Absolutely agree with you. One part of me wants to run, but the other part of me keeps reminding me of, despite this, how good of a partner I have. Curious Archer. So was she driving without a license for 5 years? Or making excuses as to why she can't drive? Maybe she got a DUI years ago and never drove again? Maybe she has a deep-seated fear of driving? I guess it really depends on what the situation is. Sometimes people lie out of shame, and I guess that could be forgiven, but if she's lying to manipulate you in some way, that's pretty terrible. J Law 1791. Lying repeatedly to your spouse, fiancé, or multi-year significant other, is a very big deal and should not be swept under the rug as if insignificant and unimportant. It could be financially ruinous to have an accident and the insurance coverage cancelled due to a lack of a licensed driver. This is a really big deal. What would you be willing to do in order to help her restore trust? The following exercise I would only recommend if you're confident she's going to come clean. If she just stonewalls you and admits to nothing, then you know that she is concerned about unraveling an entire web of lies, and you definitely can't trust her. I would give her the opportunity to come clean about all the lies that she has told you. Just let her know you caught her in a very big lie, and you're giving her the chance to restore trust. Then if she begins to tell you about the lies she's told you, after every one she admits to, just say, and, as if she hasn't yet confessed to the one you're thinking of. Dog lady. I don't like to dwell on it, but I ignored little lies with my ex-husband. Over the years they got bigger and bigger. Then catastrophic. Lies are something to consider very carefully. Your partner lying or deceiving can ruin your life irreparably. She just had an opportunity to come clean and spun another story about a medical suspension. She doubled down. Let us know what happens. Good luck. Upset marsupial. It's entirely likely that the insurance will be invalid in the event of a non-licensed driver operating the vehicle. That means extra cost when paying for repairs and damages to any third party, and increased healthcare costs if it's an incident which requires hospitalization, for driver, passengers, read, op, or again third parties. Hot black _ Diazato. Is it possible that she's highly embarrassed to not have one? You have to discuss this with her, especially the need to lie about potentially embarrassing things, because when things get real important and also real embarrassing, you have to know that she's going to be truthful, and that is exactly what you should say her. Galactic Pup 42. This right here. I've done that once. I'm an international student in the US, and when my date said, "Oh, but you have a driver's license in your country at least, right?" I just said yeah because it was a first or second date and I didn't think much of it. Fast forward, we were together for 3 years and he still didn't know I've never had a driver's license anywhere, but I also don't drive. I was too embarrassed to admit I didn't have one on the first date. I thought it sounded like I was dependent on others, and then I was too embarrassed to admit I had lied for so long. He ended up never knowing, but I learned to never do that again. Leak altruistic 6500. For what it's worth, in most jurisdictions, not just in the US, if you have a known condition, especially one that would prevent them from granting you a license and put yourself in a situation where you should have known that medical condition would put others at risk, they will go after you. Same reasoning behind why people who get drunk aren't absolved of guilt, or people who stop taking antipsychotic medications, etc. Dr. Kitty Lova. So she has poor judgment as well as a problem with lying, and possibly really poor judgment if her medical condition is what keeps her Friday driving. I don't know the ramifications of driving without a license where you are up, but there must be consequences that she is courting. If it's anything like the US where one is risking financial ruin in the case of an accident, then she's downright stupid. Next story 2. My 25 male wife, 26 female, spends 3 to 9 hours in our roommate's room every day. How do you feel about your so doing this? My wife's best friend moved into our apartment because her boyfriend was selling drugs out of their house. Had the DEA, FBI, and local law enforcement all come and kick her door in and arrest her boyfriend, but she wasn't at the house at the time. My wife begged and begged for her best friend to stay with us, but she is nothing but trouble and red flags. I told her no I don't know how many times, but she one day decided me being angry was saying yes. That word never came out of my mouth. She told me if she moved in she won't do this, won't do that, we won't have to worry about this or that. Yet here she is doing this and that, and I'm constantly worried about this and that. Besides that, she is now spending hours and hours in her friend's room every single day. Sometimes just 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes 5 or 6. Sometimes 3 hours in the morning and then 6 hours that afternoon and night. But she spends more time in her friend's room than she would if she had a part-time job. She's actually in there with her friend's fuck buddy and her at the moment. I've asked her to come out several times, but she keeps telling me she's doing her makeup, but they're in there laughing and having a good time while I'm watching our dogs in the living room. Edit. Her friend also has a 3-year-old, that lived with them during all of this. How DHR has not taken that kid away again, baffles me. Now for Topcom.net. Prof Plum did it. Why do you keep letting her get away with ignoring your wishes and disrespecting you? Tell her bluntly that her friend has X amount of time, 24 hours, 48? A week? Whatever you decide, to get out of your house. If she isn't out by then, you will be filing for divorce because you are done with all of this shit. Follow through if necessary. Being divorced would be way better than staying with a woman who has proven over and over again that she doesn't give a shit about your wishes or feelings and that you are the very bottom of her list of priorities. Arnie Pepper. Personally, I'd move out. If my wife was ignoring my requests and blatantly ignoring our marriage, and valuing being roomies with a girl who's a massive red flag, I'd not want to be around that sort of toxicity. If she wants to spend almost every waking moment with them, then let her. Secure your finances and valuables and find somewhere else to live. Don't pay for their rent or bills. Let them figure it out. It'll either end with your wife making amends, or divorce, ultimately. Even making amends might not be enough after this much disrespect. Born Free Bubblehead. Sit her down and talk to her. Tell her that her ignoring your feelings on inviting her friend, and her spending all of her time with her friend instead of you is telling you that your wife doesn't respect you or your feelings. Which IMO she isn't. It may be too late to kick the friend out, but if she doesn't start spending more time with you, be prepared to walk, because she doesn't appear to respect you. See Higgins 1235. Simple question. Do you have kids with this woman, your wife? If not, then leave. Your wife is on a very bad trajectory right now. She is in there with this drug addict and all around toxic person. This woman is going to take your wife down with her, not make her better. If you don't move on, she will not understand the gravity of the situation. The fact that she counts this person with tons of red flags as a friend is a red flag in and of its own.